It's live.
Oh, that was quick. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Airiyanam, Namo Uvajayanam, Namo Loe Savasahunam. जय जिनेन्द्र सभी को। हम सेमेस्टर 5 के मोक्ष मार्ग प्रकाशक 8वें अधिकार पे हैं। तो आज हम पहले थोड़ी समरी ले लेंगे और फिर स्टार्ट करेंगे। सो नीपाजी, ओवर टू यू।
Yes. Okay, so I'm summarizing the prayojan of the Char Anurog. I had typed some notes, and some notes are from my book, so I'll have to read it straight out of my book. So for the Prathama Yog, it gives the stories of the Mahapurush activities, Pap Punya Fal. It just is to get the general people, they call it like, Tvacha Buddhi. I'm thinking they are general people basically to get them interested in Dharma. And there are stories about Mahapurush and kings,
Not
etc.
twach, it's tuch.
Tuch.
Tuch means small buddhi. It can be
Small.
children. It can be relatively less educated if they cannot, understand
Understand the
big
full.
words. That's what
Okay.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe for those people to get them interested in Dharma, there are stories about Mahapurush and kings, but they are from not a perspective of all these pap activities that you would generally hear in other stories about kings and all that, but it's from a perspective of how to leave all our pap activities and to turn towards the Dharma activities by tapping into the interest of these people, right, with stories, because they're probably more interested in stories. They want to continue to read, so they use the stories to get them towards the Dharma activities. And also for those who have tattva gnan now, right, not the tucha buddhi, but they also when they read these kathas, they become actually like examples, or this udaharan, right, that reinforce the tattva gnan. So these kathas become examples of what they have learned. Concepts like Jeev is Ananidan, body is Sanyogi items, body is part of a Sanyogi Padarth. And they also are examples, they give examples of like Shubh Upyog, Shuddha and Ashuddha Upyog, and all the falls that are related to this Upyog. So these stories are still have some meaning and value to the people who are already have Tattva Gnan, basically. They also, when they I think another outcome of this stories is when they read about the Dharmatma and Dharmatma Purush, and they see exemplify like his life, while the sinner who is chastised, right, when they read about it, uh, they start to probably rejoice or praise, right, from a Dharmatma Purush point of view. So I think it kind of reinforces like this is what the Dharmatma Purush is, and this is how they live and all that. So that was the Pratmana Yoga. Okay. So each of these anuyogs, I'm going to go to my book now. Each of these anuyogs, they have explained from the point of view of a regular person, right? Like maybe all of us. And then from a point of view of how is it of value to the Tattvagnani person. Okay. So Karnanuyog Prayojan is, it basically Karnanuyog is dealing with Jeev, Karma, Trilok, right? Gunastan, it has that karma ki karan avastha, like what is the reason, right? And what is the fal that comes out of it? It talks about narak, swarg, where are these where are they positioned in our lok? And then and then the yeah, and so that is the main part of it. Then the part that is also important, by being engrossed. So what happens, right, when people are reading this, right, they're being engrossed in it. What happens is they move away from all these karma, like pap activities, right, by reading these, getting engrossed in it, and they move towards the dharma activities, basically. So that is also another, like, the prayojan of all of this. Now what happens when a tattvagnani reads it, right? So when a tattvagnani reads it, these are so many details on the jinvani that we are able to see the greatness of it. And by reading it, right, and by seeing the greatness of it, it increases the shraddha, basically, for the tattvagnani. And also the other aspects for a tattvagnani is that uh, uh, Okay, this is where they already know the tattva, right? Basically, if you think from a tattvagnani's perspective, they already know the tattva, but these books go into the detail. They call it visheshan, which I think is detailed subjects. They go into the details from a nishchay point of view, from a vyavhar point of view, also like dravya, kshetra, kal, bhav, from uske swarup, what is the praman for that, and also like what is nimit point of view. So there are a lot more details which is still of value also to the Tattvagnani, basically. So that is basically from that point of view. Now, by reading this, the Tattvagnani has more, and so it achieves the Tattvagnani. The end purpose is the Tattvagnani will achieve more purity or nirmalta, and that also moves him towards Dharmatma, him or her towards Dharmatma, basically. Okay, so that is the value for them. And then in general, they talk about that Karnanu Yoga is all about Ganit. Okay, it's Karan means Ganit basically. So it's all about the mathematical aspects, that they've talked about in the past, like what is a Trilok, where is Swarg, where is Narak. All of that is in Karnanu Yoga. And in general, it will prevent the distraction, even for us, from other activities. And even for a chadmas person who's not able to concentrate, sometimes they come out of the concentration and all that, they can go back to reading the Karna Yoga and just prevent distraction into the pap activities or other activities that are not prayojan bhut, basically. Then we talk
one quick thing, Nipa. You kept repeatedly saying that tattva gyani ke liye tattva, or am I hearing wrong?
No,
sorry. So उस अभ्यास से तत्व ज्ञान की प्राप्ति शीघ्र होती है, पर this is for everybody, layman too.
Oh, I see.
Not just for तत्व ज्ञानी, okay?
Oh,
तत्व ज्ञान की वृद्धि होती है जो इसको पढ़ता है.
Prabhaji, there is actually each of the anuyogs has two sections. One section is for the regular person, one section is for Tattvagnani. Because the reason is some of them got Tattwagnan, but how is it still useful for you to do this?
How is it useful?
Yeah.
Still useful.
Yeah, I like that
So
you also added what you've heard in the past. So, which is good. You've added some of it on your own.
Some of that. Yeah. Then we talk of Charnanuyoga. So this is about dharma sadhan, right? So basically, to pull people into dharma again. I think all four I saw the repeating theme is that how do we get people more and more engrossed or into the dharma, right? And so every anuyoga will have the same positive values. So in this one is get away from pap karya, right? Pap karya ko chhod do. Then you get into the dharma karya. Then there are those are what did I write? Follow the this is for those who are wanting to follow the dharma acharan, right? So for either it is they show the path like how to do grahastha dharma or muni dharma. Basically both those paths are also there. So basically it gets people into this dharma sadhana and how to do that. So this book is focused on that. And then and then once they do this dharma sadhana, right, they're saying what is the fall. So what happens is Kashai month is happening month. Then there is Kugati, you don't go into a Kugati, but you are able to go into the Sugati ka Sukh, basically. Yeah, that is a possibility that happens with this when you do the dharma sadhana. And then for the Tattvagnani now, the second piece is what happens when the Tattvagnani is reading this. So when they study this, they are following the Shravak or Muni Achar, basically. These people are already following either Shravak or Muni Achar. And and all of this is based on these books, right? So based on how much vitrakta they have, they will do that much of that acharan, right? But that book still is of value to them, and it always also allows them to advance. So jitne ansh mein vitrakta hai, that those are all the karyas that will do. And whenever jisne mein rag hai, then those are like hey, right? They understand this to be hey, and they are like their goal is to not do it. But the book also helps them from that perspective. And they also know that Sampurn Vitrakta is Param Dharma, basically. So the path for them, for the Tattvagnani, is to get to the Sampurna Vitrakta. And then finally is Dravyanu in Dravyanu Yoga, it is basically, it's about the Dravya and the Tattva, the details about Dravya and Tattva. In this one, gosh, my notes are getting harder to read. Yes, okay. For those who don't recognize Dravya and Tattva, right? So basically, this is helpful for those who won't recognize that. They basically explain the from a different point of view, angles. So it's like different hetu, different drashtan, right? They're giving motivation, different angles. They're trying to explain the Dravya and Tattva basically for those people who don't understand it. They give praman, nyay, all of these different tactics basically in this book to explain that. And the goal at the end of it is that we will increase our pratiti or conviction towards the dharma basically, or at least towards the tattva from that point of view. The other religious, they also kind of point out that other, anya mat, like other religious concepts that we may come across, that those are actually wrong, and it creates like it pushes us towards this tattvagnani space, right? If we are general people, by reading this, it will push us towards the tattvagnani space. And then for those who are tattvagnani, those from that point of view, they already have a lot of this knowledge, but this was interesting. They said that even though they have all the knowledge, they may forget it from time to time. So they said by reading this, it kind of reinforces it and it prevents them from forgetting it. And the biggest from this the Dravyanu Yoga, they said, is Shigra Moksha Satta hai. So all of these others are like precursors towards like how to get to the moksha stage. Like the prior one was to how to get to vitrakta and sampurna vitrakta. Then Dravyanu, they say, how to get to that gets shigra moksha for the tattvagnani. So each book is advancing the tattvagnani also, and of course it's advancing the general people like us also.
Very good summary. A couple of points that got missed. One thing is that all 4 anuyogs are supposed to take you towards vitrakta. चारों अनुयोग से हमें वीतरागता की तरफ ही ले जाती है, उसका प्रयोजन वही है. They specifically talk about it in चरणानुयोग का प्रयोजन, पर सभी का प्रयोजन वीतरागता की तरफ ले जाना है. अच्छा,
then it makes sense why it is towards vitrakta, because if I am a lay person who just likes stories, then by listening to stories, I will get attracted towards the dharma. Then I will do more things like learn Dravyanu Yoga, learn Karnanu Yoga. I will learn more of the other things I need to do. Similarly, if I'm interested in math or geography, and then I get in through the Karnanu Yoga, I'm just curious about karma and how it works. Then I get attracted to it. Then I want to know more and more. Then I'll start learning about the other anuyogs, things that come in other anuyogs. That's how each of these becomes an entry point towards all the other things.
Yeah, but also think about it. All the stories, you watch a movie, where does it end? Either the lovers die, or if the lovers get married, they find each other eventually. That's the end of the story. That's called happily ever after. That's not happily ever after in Vitrakta. Happily ever after is reaching moksha.
True.
So all our stories end in moksha. So there's a big difference between other stories and Pratmano Yoga stories.
Right.
Jain stories don't end in getting married and things like that. They end in reaching moksha.
True. But you can't reach moksha by listening to Pratmano Yoga. You still have to learn the other anuyogs.
Yeah,
and
but it gives you
that's how Pratmano Yoga allows you to enter into dharma.
Exactly. Now, but it's also so let's say the kids were listening to Harry Potter versus a Jain story. What is the Jain story going to teach them? Pap chodo and go towards moksha, right? That's the difference. Now, let's see. Let's quickly underline a few things. Well, of course, everybody should try to If you have typed it, Nipa, share it on the group and people save it for yourself or use it to edit your own piece of it and upload it. And other than that, in the book also, so when you flip through pages, you should have few things underlines. So in the Pratmanu Yoga, first one is, first line, it says, Sansar ki vichitrata. Underline that, what Pratmanu Yoga shows. Punya Pap ka Fal is the second point. These are the points that Pratmanu Yoga shows, okay? फिर महंत पुरुषों की प्रवृत्ति. How do Mahapurush behave? Okay. Then, of course, that, Tuchya Buddhi and, they don't understand. So through stories, that's okay. But then so those are the three key points. Then in the next 269 page, second line, प्रयोजन जहां तहां पाप को छुड़ाकर धर्म में लगाने का है. So we know when the kids read the story, they say, oh, in that story, they said that doing that is bad and doing this was good. So that sits with them.
Prabhaji, in the next paragraph, they call this person Avyutapan Mithya Drishti. What is that?
इस प्रकार तुच्छ बुद्धियों को समझाने के लिए यह अनुयोग है. प्रथम अर्थात अव्युत्पन्न मिथ्या दृष्टि.
Yeah, I had it as
those who have never utpanned the religion, that have never read the religion.
So no knowledge about religion.
Right, no knowledge.
And Prabhaji, I had one more question. It is in the next paragraph, third line. It says, Tatha Purano mein jeevon ke bhavantar. What is bhavantar?
Bhav, differences in their bhav. Let me get to that line. Where is it, in the Karnanu Yoga or in the...
Still in Pratmanu Yoga. So third paragraph, third line.
तथा पुराणों में जीवों के भावांतर निरूपित किए हैं. Yeah, their bhav, the jeeves bhav, how they go up and down, bhavon ki, vichitrata, how people feel when things happen to them, all those things are part of Pratmanu Yoga.
And what does Subhat mean? It's in the last, second to last.
I think Subhat just means a villager, if I'm not mistaken.
What again?
तथा जैसे कोई सुभट है, वह सुभटों की प्रशंसा. It's just like a, let's say, bheel. Like a villager.
Tribal person?
Tribal, yeah.
But that doesn't make sense. Can you read that and tell us?
Okay, तथा जैसे कोई सुभट है. Suppose somebody is this classification of सुभट. Then वो सुभटों की प्रशंसा और कायरों की निंदा जिसमें हो, ऐसी किन्हीं पुराण पुरुषों की कथा सुनने से सुभट पने में अति उत्साहवान होता है. So in this, it seems like it can be tribal or warrior class. So if they read stories of how strong that person was, like Mahavir ki kahani, he was not afraid of the snake or something like that. And then the rest of the kids were kayar, they were afraid of it. So that then they feel like this being strong is good. That's what it teaches them to be strong. So see, what it's saying is, सुबटों, strong people की प्रशंसा और weak people की निंदा करेगा, तो जिसमें हो ऐसे किन्हीं पुराण पुरुषों की कथा सुनने से सुबट पने में अति उत्साहवान होता है.
So it will be the opposite of Kayar.
Yes.
Subhat will be the opposite of Kayar.
So they're just giving an analogy that same way person who is Dharmatma, he is going to like stories of which praise the Dharmatma people and not the Papi people. So when you read stories about what happened to Kamat and, and where did he go and what happened to Parshnath, so you get encouraged to behave like Parshnath and not Kamat.
Ma'am, what does this avyutpan mithya drishti means? मतलब
I
प्रथम
will
का
have to
अर्थ
look it up exactly. I'm just right now taking a guess that somebody who has never had Samyak Darshan.
That would be all of us.
Yeah, well, you really cannot say, because you could have had Samyak Darshan in any of your past lives and lost it.
But just now you said avyutpan means no knowledge about religion. You just told
Right.
us.
Right. I'm just taking a guess. So let me look into that word if I can and get back to you guys, exactly what it means. I'm going based on the sentence. Pratham arthat arth jo anuyog so pratham yog. Okay, yeah. Whatever I said the second time is what makes more sense, because it's saying pratham arthat first time, before first time, like mithya drashti. उनके अर्थ जो अनुयोग सो प्रथमानुयोग है. So for people who are, who have never even tasted the Samyak Darshan,
In any bhav is what you're saying.
yeah,
Where is this word? Sorry.
this is the second paragraph, second line.
On page 169. Oh, sorry, 269.
Thank you.
Ma'am, this Pratmanayog purely deals with stories only.
I'm sorry, Priya
Is
ji.
this Pratmanayog में सिर्फ stories ही होती है, nothing else than the stories?
I would say yes, majority. Some are real stories, some are fiction, mostly real stories. पुराण जो होते हैं वो भगवान के चरित्र के stories होते हैं. I just confirmed with my husband, same thing. Avyutpanna mithya drashti means never utpanna, मतलब सदा से मिथ्या दृष्टि है. That's kind of what I was guessing too.
Mhm. So now we can start from page
Now,
171.
yeah,
right?
let's start from there. We'll read from page 171. Now, so first we learned कि इनका प्रयोजन means what is the purpose of these each anuyog. Okay. Now we are going to read what is the style of saying, talking in those anuyogs. ठीक है ना? So पहले तो we understood why they are classified in that way, and then whenever you read a sentence, and if it is in that style, then you will understand that this is a Pratmanuyog sentence versus a Karnanuyog sentence, like that. So let's start.
Prabhaji, every time we are reading, we are constantly trying to uh, discriminate. Is this anuyog, that anuyog? Is it this nai, that nai?
Yeah, we have done
Apeksha
that.
se? There is so much depth of thinking involved in each sentence we read. In that.
There is.
You're muted. Prabhaji, you got muted.
Yes, there is, because that's why you need to hang on to it. और उसमें क्या बताया? Suppose किसी को सम्यक दर्शन भी हो गया. Now they've experienced the soul. So now what next? But still, why they continue to do the स्वाध्याय and तत्व अभ्यास? Because मोह की इतनी महिमा है कि वो भूल सकते हैं, वो फिर से गलत रास्ते पे जा सकते हैं. So to keep it strong, they still keep going. And then when we are studying in this course, the reason we are learning it from all angles is that it sits with you such that whenever you pick up a book or any shastra and read, you want to see, there is a thing where they used to not let Shravaks read the agams. Why? Because they don't know the Nyay, they don't know Nyay, they don't know Yukti, and they may misunderstand. So, that's why there was a time when they said, no, only sadhus should study the agams because otherwise, wo problem ho jayega, which to some extent is true. But better option is कि श्रावक भी पढ़े और उसको कैसे पढ़ना, कैसे न्याय लगाना, कैसे युक्ति लगाना, वैसे सही ढंग से पढ़े. And that's what we are understanding. So that way, when we read, we don't make the wrong sense out of it. Okay. You're talking on mute, Hemal. Okay.
Continuing with the conversation we had yesterday, about Muni, role of the Muni and role of the Pandit, So is that why there was a whole wave where
Yes.
Pandits started taking interest and teaching? Because prior to that, it was only the role of the Upadhyay to do the teaching. And now
Exactly.
even the Pandits are doing teaching. So there isn't any framework in which the two can work with each other to impart Tattvagnan currently, you would say. Because
There is and
currently
there
they
is
are
not.
working.
So, okay. Before, what it was people were more saral. Okay. So you only took Diksha when you really understood the dharam and sacha vairagya hua hai to Diksha liya. Now you took Diksha, you don't have the homely affairs. So you got all this time to study and gain all that knowledge. Then you could impart the knowledge. Now, just because you got vairagya doesn't mean you're a good orator. You also have to be a good orator in order to be able to teach or give vyakhyanas, right? So then what happened is that over time, there was a lot of places like, for example, Mumbai, right? It's huge, right? Sadhus have to walk. And you cannot have upashrays in every gully. And people won't go too far. No, only if there is Chaturmas and there is Marasab and people will take the trouble to go, but not all the time. Or some Marasabs are not enough knowledgeable because they took Diksha before having a lot of knowledge. So then came the need that, okay, if there are Pandits, if there are Shravaks who have an interest, they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have Vairagya to take Diksha. So then some of the good Shravaks also go to teach the sadhus. Because sadhus are also humans, right? So they took Diksha, but then when they start studying, they may not be interested or they may not be able to grasp it as quickly. So there are Shravak teachers who come and teach the sadhus certain books.
But isn't the job of the Upadhyay in that ranks to teach the
Yes.
sadhus?
But is it necessary that you would find a person as good as an Upadhyay? Upadhyay is supposed to know all the technically Bara Ang and like lot of knowledge. So I know that in the old times, there used to be groups like, the one sadhu group that my husband was following. It's called Gyan Gach. So that whole thing is more on knowledge. So in their group, they had an Upadhyay who you could go and ask any question and he would be so thoroughly knowledgeable. And then his job would also be then every day, 2 hours, however many hours, he would be teaching the younger sadhus. But not all groups have to have that. Plus, remember, the sadhus are not supposed to stay in one place. So the Upadhyay might be in one place, the rest of the sadhus may be in another place. The group only has one Upadhyay.
But doesn't the Sangh travel together, like all of them?
No.
They each travel independently?
Two in pairs, usually, at least ladies, I know for sure they have to be at least 2. But no, only for Chaturmas, maybe 4 or 5. That too with the Acharya. All the other sadhus can be solo or couple,
Is
2
that
to
because they are just focused on meditating?
No, they are see, it's very easy to get attached. Suppose you stay in one place, right, for a month, and all the people, just like we visit somewhere and people are friendly and you get attached to people, right? So taking sadhupana is practicing non-attachment. So this supports non-attachment, that you don't stay in one place longer.
And don't live together in a big group for the same reason.
Right. So even technically, even your partner is changed. So 2 people travel, let's say. Next time you'll be traveling somebody else instead of the same person. Because otherwise you get attached to your partner.
So this is being done even by the sadhus that are not Samyak Drishti.
Yes, because these are just basic some rules to follow. So like next thing to sadhu is this summary classification that somebody made, which means they're technically not sadhus, but they try to live as close as a sadhu, but they're allowed to travel, they're allowed to, ask for food and things like that.
Yeah, we had some Samnijis come to our temple to give Swadhyay or Pravachans.
Right. So,
Prabhaji, currently there is lot of divisiveness in terms of the role of a Pandit and a Muni, because Munis are not appreciating that Pandits are doing this work that is their job. Would that be true to say?
No, I wouldn't say giving sermons is a Muni's job. Munipana you take for your own soul. In the process, if somebody comes in front of you and you have the knowledge and you give it, it's fine. But there is no such requirement. What happened is people are very selfish, right? So at some point in the societies, people like made this thing that, okay, we are feeding the Muni, so at least we should get some, lectures out of them or something like that. But that shouldn't be a requirement.
But
Munis
even
are
in
supposed to do their own sadhana or whatever it takes to, be in the MokshMarg. And not all Munis give the lectures because not all Munis are good orators.
Right. But in MokshMarg Prakashak itself, in the starting, when we did the Panch Parmeshti, they described the qualities of a Vakta. And in that, they said the Vakta is always Samyak Drishti. Otherwise, you will be associating with a Ragi person and getting some wrong information as well.
So ideally, that should be the case. Now, if you don't have a Samyak Drishti, then what next would you do? Whoever is teaching the Vitraga Marg, even if he is not Samyak Darshi, but he is not letting you, he is not saying, okay, I'm Ragi, so it's okay for you guys to be like me. No, he is only teaching you the Vitragi path. So that is the next best thing. But yes, in the what we read in Vakta Ka Swarup, that is very correct. Ideally, if you can find a Samyak Drishti, best is to listen to them. And of course, Shravaks can be Samyak Drishti, even in this day and age. So again, like I said, ideal is Bhavlingi Muni, who will be Samyak Drishti as well as following the Charitra, right? Next would be Samyak Drishti Shravak. Okay.
That is a Jnani who is doing the 11 Pratima.
Fourth Gunasthan person, right?
Fifth.
Now.
Fifth Gunasthan, right?
No. Fourth. Unless he's
Fourth
Vrati.
Gunasthan is Samyak Drishti, but fifth is the one that is following the Pratimas to become take Diksha.
Right. But I'm talking about in order of, so ideally Bhavlingi. Then fourth and fifth you cannot know, right? As long as they're Samyak Drishti, it's okay. How much they are Vrat, what they are Pratima, we don't know.
Okay.
And then what, how do we see? It's like directly Divya Dhvanu would be ideal. But in absence of Kevali and Tirthankars, what are we doing? Just getting the agams that were created from the Divya Dhvani. So, again, yes, ideal is Samyak Drishti, but even a non-Samyak Drishti can, with the correct knowledge imparting, can be a nimit in your Samyak Drishti.
It is said in Agam. That is said in Agam.
Yes. They can be a nimit.
So in Agam, they have said it is okay to listen to these Vaktas who are not Samyak Drishti.
Yes. See, I'll tell you, wherever that Vakta thing was, or somewhere we read, see, what is the definition? Remember, sadhu and all those, whoever is following the marg. साधु को भी हम क्यों वर्शिप करते हैं? बिकॉज वो भगवान का बताया हुआ मार्ग फॉलो कर रहे हैं. And also in
because
this
they are more Vitragi than us.
Sadhus Yes. Samyak Drashti and now Charitra also is following.
Yeah.
So that is why there is a little bit of a debate in the society, and it's fair that, okay, Shravaks are Gyani, I mean, in the sense that they have a lot of knowledge, so they're imparting the knowledge, which is as good a professor, right? The professor doesn't have to follow Jainism, but he can be a professor of Jainism. Versus some people say, okay, that person has knowledge, but then we cannot see the character in him. Whereas at least sadhu, like if Samniji comes to my town, at least I can see that they've given up the sansar, they are indulging in only the dharmic activities, nothing else. So, but then their knowledge will not be perfect. So what I would say is, yes, look at Samniji's, whatever they've given up and how their life. I mean, I've learned, like I had Samniji's in my house for 8-10 days. Now, again, after this knowledge, I'm not going to, what do you call, anumodana of their thing. One time I told Bharilji that, ideally I like this Samani category because they are not sadhu. So you're not getting that pap of, treating somebody who is not Samyaktvi as a sadhu. Yet they're an in-between category because they're following some of the sadhu type of charitra, but yet they don't call themselves a sadhu. But he said, he kind of didn't agree. He said, no, that the Samani word itself is wrong because originally, even sadhus were called Samans also. So, but, so that category, I felt like when they stayed at my place, it encouraged me that, wow, they've completely given up their life just for this, for progress in the MokshMarg. Because they had very strict rules. They wouldn't just come up and, talk to you or gossip and things like that. I mean, of course, little bit if I asked them, I wanted to know their stories. So they told me, but other than that, mostly anything religious is all they will talk. And they would briefly talk and then go back, and they have their rituals, every 2 hours, what they're supposed to study and things like that. And they follow, how even the cloth, the wastage. See, because anything you use is pap. So they showed me how they use the cloth that they use. They try to minimize once one sari is old and torn, they fold it and use it as a, bichhane ka chaddar. Once that also galophies, then fold it 4 ways and they make it a asan to sit on it. When that also gets galophied, then they tear it into rumal pieces until that whole fabric is. So the point to say is that they try to follow it to that extent. That doesn't mean that dharam is in belief in doing those things. But yes, it is that attitude of least hinsa. That is the charitra part.
Yeah, but over here, right now in Charnanu Yoga, we read that by following Charnanu Yoga, you decrease your kashai.
Right. So that is not opposing that, right?
Kashai mand ho jati hai.
So what is Charnanu Yoga? All the acharan. Whereas vrata, satya, ahimsa, acharya, that's all part of Charnanu Yoga.
So then doing Charnanu Yoga is not a bad thing. You
Not
can
at
do
all.
Charnanu
Not at
Yoga
all.
also and do it and have your kashai becoming mand. That
Definitely,
will help you in
There is
vriddhi of
no
your vitrata.
requirement. It's more fruitful to have Charnanu Yoga after Samyak Darshan. But no, even before that, you have to follow all those things to reduce your kashayas. It doesn't say that you don't do anything just because you don't have Samyak Darshan. Okay,
See, that is where the tricky part is. Because we are never
we
going
went
to
over this
know.
very thoroughly in the previous this thing. Remember when we talked
Yes.
about fourth Gunasthan and
Yes.
before fourth Charnano Yoga is less kind of important, but yet we said one should still follow because kashayo ki
Right.
madhata hogi, to aapko shastro mein ruchi hogi.
Right.
So
Right.
even to get to that level, you think like a murderer is going to be interested in shastra or dharmic books? No.
No, no.
You have to have कषाय उतनी तो मंद होनी चाहिए ना, उसके लिए चरणानुयोग you have to follow.
Yeah. But in one of our Vitrag Vignans, we said that first learn Ravyanu Yoga and
That
then
is
do
also
Charnanu
true.
Yoga
Then
in
it
that
is
order.
best. That is the best scenario. But while you're learning Dravyanu Yoga, you should follow Charnanu Yoga. They're not saying that, oh, it's okay to do chori and jhoot bolna and learn Dravyanu Yoga. No. Your kashayas have to be low.
Mand, enough for you to
enough
learn
mand for you
Dravyanu
to
Yoga.
learn, even to get interested. Vishuddhi labdhi usi se aayegi na, to even get the interest. See, that is why they call it Vishuddhi. You have to have, your kashayas have to be mand, enough to be interested.
So maybe for some people, the path begins with Charnanu Yoga and then they
And
go
that's
to
okay,
Dravyanu
yes.
Yoga.
So what are we doing
That's
with our
how-
kids? As, see, in the Jain family, a baby is there. First thing he's taught is Charnanu Yoga. Not to speak a lie, don't even kill the ants, don't even kill any machhar, don't do this. All that is Charnanu Yoga. Right? Or even if we teach them little bit vrat, holding off eating 4 hours, 2 hours, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're teaching the kids a little control.
So people, large groups of people as adults, if they start with Charnanu Yoga
That's
and get into Dravyanu Yoga, that path is still okay. There's
That
nothing
is
wrong with
definitely
that path.
fine. The only objection was don't get stuck there, which is unfortunately what happens in society. People do the Charnanu Yoga and they think this is it. This is the dharam. I got my recipe. I'm done. Otherwise, of course, Charnanu Yoga is necessary in your life.
Ma'am, in MokshMarg Prakashak, that first chapter, Vakta Ka Swarup, in page number 16, they actually say, ideal is what you said. They need to have all the qualities.
Right.
If not, Shravak with the right knowledge, we can also listen from that. गुणों के धारक मुनि अथवा श्रावक उनके मुख से शास्त्र सुनना योग्य है.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says that na mile to.
हाँ.
But when you say Shraddhan Adi Gunon ke Dhari, Shraddhan means Samyak Drishti.
No. So,
Shraddha means with
let's say there's
interest.
a professor of Christian professor. He definitely does not believe in Jainism, but he's just a world religions professor. So he's just going to, one part of it is Jainism and he's going to talk about it. So that would not be a great thing.
Okay. Now, is it possible that this book has been written by somebody who's a Pandit and that's why it has been stated that even this is okay? Or what he has written
No,
has come from
Todamalji was a
Agam?
Samyak Drishti Shravak, yes. He was not a Muni.
Right. So is it possible that he could have altered it some to include the stuff that he is doing,
I
Or
wouldn't
is
think
this
so.
coming from Agam?
No, this has to come from Agam because, see, even Agams, only good Gyanis could interpret it properly. Okay. And the reason I would trust this guy is because he wanted to tell the truth. Even in spite, he was killed by the Raja. He did not want to dig from the... So that is why they say that suppose today's age, nobody's going to kill you for telling these kind of things, but they may insult you. They may not want to talk to you, but that is okay. Don't say the wrong things just because you want to look nice.
Okay.
So let's start reading from Anuyogo ke Vyakhyan Vintan. Start, Binduji. Abin Anuyogo mein.
अब इन अनुयोगों में किस प्रकार व्याख्यान है सो कहते हैं. प्रथमानुयोग के व्याख्यान का विधान. प्रथमानुयोग में जो मूल कथाएं हैं वे तो जैसे हैं वैसे ही निरूपित करते हैं तथा उनमें प्रसंगोपत व्याख्यान होता है. वहां कोई तो वहां जो का त्यों होता है, कोई ग्रंथकार के विचार अनुसार होता है परंतु प्रयोजन अन्यथा नहीं होता। उदाहरण, जैसे तीर्थंकर देवों के कल्याणकों में इंद्र आए, यह कथा तो सत्य है, तथा इंद्र ने स्तुति की, उसका व्याख्यान किया, सो इंद्र ने तो अन्य प्रकार से ही स्तुति की थी, और यह ग्रंथकार ने अन्य ही प्रकार से स्तुति करना लिखा है, परंतु स्तुति रूप प्रयोजन अन्यथा नहीं हुआ, तथा परस्पर किन्हीं के वचनालाप हुआ, वहां उनके तो अन्य प्रकार अक्षर निकले थे। यहाँ ग्रंथकर्ता ने अन्य प्रकार कहे, परंतु प्रयोजन एक ही दिखलाते हैं, तथा नगर वन संग्रामादिक के नामादिक तो यथावत ही लिखते हैं, और वर्णन हिनादिक भी प्रयोजन का पोषण करता हुआ निरूपित करते हैं, इत्यादि इस प्रकार जानना।
So, for example, they are describing Ayodhya, right? Ayodhya is supposed to be Janma Bhumi of all Tirthankars. So they will describe, they can describe more than it was or little less than it was. And that's okay in Pratmana Yoga. That's what they're trying to say. Okay,
So
go ahead.
one thing is that the stuti roop prayojan anyatha nahi hua, that is one. The second is that Nagar one Sangram Namadik Yathavati likhte, means as it was.
As it is. They try to write the name the same, whatever it was called at the time, but the description may be less or more.
But it says, Varnan Hin Adik means less or more.
Yes, Heen Adik. Heen matlab less, Adik means more.
Description may be less or more. Be prayojan, what और वर्णन हीनादिक भी प्रयोजन का पोषण करता हुआ निरूपित है. What does that mean? प्रयोजन का पोषण. Then
Prayojan means what? You tell me. We just read prayojan of each anuyog.
हाँ, तो इनका प्रयोजन is for the पाप
What is the
पुण्य
prayojan
and Mahant
of-
Purush की story and
exactly.
all this.
So as long as the prayojan purpose is taken care of. Now, does it
करता
matter
हुआ
whether I
निरूपित
described Ayodhya much nicer than it was? No, my prayojan was still to tell you that you do what Bhagwan did.
Yeah, got it.
तथा प्रसंग रूप कथा भी ग्रंथकर्ता अपने विचार अनुसार कहते हैं, जैसे धर्म परीक्षाओं में मूर्खों की कथा लिखी, सो वही कथा मनोवेग ने कही थी, ऐसा नियम नहीं है, परंतु मूर्खपने का पोषण करने वाली कोई कथा कही थी, ऐसे अभिप्राय का पोषण करते हैं, इस प्रकार अन्यत्र जानना। या कोई कहे अयथार्थ कहना तो जैन शास्त्र में संभव नहीं है। उत्तर, अन्यथा उसका नाम है जो प्रयोजन अन्य प्रकट करे। जैसे किसी से कहा कि तू ऐसा कहना, उसने वे ही अक्षर तो नहीं कहे, परंतु उसी प्रयोजन सहित कहे तो उसे मिथ्यावादी नहीं कहते, ऐसा जानना। यदि जैसे का तैसे लिखने का संप्रदाय हो तो किसी ने बहुत प्रकार से वैराग्य चिंतवन किया था, उसका सर्व वर्णन लिखने से ग्रंथ बढ़ जाएगा, तथा कुछ न लिखने से उनका भाव बासित नहीं होगा। इसीलिए वैराग्य के ठिकाने थोड़ा बहुत अपने विचार के अनुसार वैराग्य पोषण ही कथन करेंगे, सराग पोषक कथन नहीं करेंगे। वहां प्रयोजन अन्यथा नहीं हुआ, इसीलिए अयथार्थ नहीं कहते। इस प्रकार अन्यत्र जानना।
So like when you guys do your summaries, you're not required to write the exact sentences from the book, but you're not supposed to change the meaning either. So that's why it's not anyatha.
And sarag means with rag, right?
With rag, yes.
So what they are saying here is that they may make it concise, right? Like Vairagya, they're saying
No, what they're saying is, suppose they have to tell you a story about some murk person. So they may say it in their own way. It can be different than, what actually happened, or it may be even kalpit. They can make it up, because the prayojan is to tell you how this person was murk. or how this person was samyaktvi or papi or punya atma, that way. And then whenever it comes to expressing things, talking about vairagya, so they can put their own sentences as long as they're vairagya parak sentences.
Oh, so it is not even like concise. You're saying they may just explain it in their own way.
Yes.
Basically. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
As long as the purpose is not lost.
As long as the prayojan is still there, then they can explain it in their own way, basically.
Right, exactly. Now, like Mahavir Bhagwan did meditation of 630 years, whatever, okay? Now, we don't know what he was thinking. But if somebody has to write about his meditation, what is he going to do? He's going to write about vairagya sentences.
Because also it takes a very long time.
Didn't say, what did I do when I was meditating?
Yeah. And also it may be so many years, so they may just make it into like a book format versus like the whole short by short.
Exactly.
Very nice. Not short by
very
short,
interesting,
but a book.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's like even like when we were reading Ram Kahani and all of that, the stories are so different, right? Jainism, Hinduism, all of that stuff, right? And then I heard another version through somebody else who's also a Jain, but Shwetambar Jain, on Ram Kahani, which was like totally different.
Even in Hindus, there is 5 different munis have written Ramayana. They're all different. Not just Jainism. Now, I'm okay even if they changed it, because Jains, I would like to think that that's exactly what happened. But let's say Sita didn't really say this. There is this thing that is very different in Jain Ramayana than which is not shown in the one that I saw, the episodes of Ramanand Sagar Ramayana. That's when she was left in the jungle. She said that, tell Ramji that as he left me by somebody talking about me, don't do that for religion. Be firm with your religion. Now, let's say she never said that, but the story writer added that. What's wrong with that? His prayojan is to teach you what is true Jainism, to think about your own karma and not to blame others.
Also, it's like when since I was studying for the 3rd exam, the Aap Kuch Bhi Kaho, right?
Yeah.
Some of those stories about, and especially when they talk about women, feels demeaning, right? So if I were to convey those same messages to my girls or kids of this generation, you would want to change that.
Yeah, you would want to change the wording. You would want to put it in a very different way. Of course, yes. So those are all allowed. And when you read, then you should take that into consideration. That, you wouldn't go around, say, fighting with somebody else that, oh, this is the way I heard it and this is the version I read it. Fine. As long as the prayojan purpose is the same, it's okay. Whereas even in the Ramanand Sagar, this thing, the last scene actually does show Ram going to moksha. So in that sense, they also have the same prayojan. But in general, the Hindu parampara more focuses on his, what do you call it? Maryada Purushottam, like how he lived his life, more than that.
So they are focused on charitra.
Right. And we are focused on moksha, the ultimate. Because, yeah, if he had the wonderful charitra, that's great, but that's not enough for us.
Last
Maybe Hindus are thinking that charitra ki vishuddhi hoegi, so then eventually they will also become.
But if we never talk about the eventual, then what good is it?
Huh?
But then you never talk about eventual. So what good is that?
Right.
And
see, that's what I'm saying. Yes, there is nothing wrong with thinking ki charitra ki vishuddhi hogi, manda kashaya hoga. There's nothing wrong with saying that, okay, you should follow the way he behaved. All is okay. But that's all you state, and you never talk about Ram Bhagwan reached moksha, he's never coming back, and you say he's Vishnu ka avatar, then again he came back as a Krishna and he came back as a whatever else. That is where it's totally mithyat.
Right.
They don't even know their ways correctly.
For us, it is mithyatva.
Right, because if once they've reached the ultimate, they're not going to take avatar anymore.
For us.
Yeah, but even the Charitra part, I don't know, the parts that we read about, they are about Vyavhar, like in our life Charitra. It wasn't even related to like the
Yeah.
Charitra we read
Right.
about
It
Muni
was not
Dharma or
related to
anything.
his
It is
sadhupana
Correct.
and all that.
it is as
But-
a king and or as a whatever. From his
Right.
status, it was the Charitra from that point of view, but not
So
the
that's
Jain
what they're
Charitra.
depicting. I don't
Yeah.
think they're even focusing on that. That is the charitra you follow to go to moksha.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Whereas
they're just
we focus
That
on
is
other
totally
things.
true. And if
Yeah.
they focus, it's more on the rituals, right? Mandir mein
Right.
jao, ye karo, wo karo, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
after
exactly.
reading all this, to me, to make Diwali such a huge festival just because your son came home. You know, my son comes home every so often too.
Yeah,
So what is the big
exactly.
deal? You
He
know?
won a war and he came home. That's the difference.
That was
Yeah, for them, it
He
was
won all
important
of
to win the
Bharat.
war.
He won
Right.
all of Bharat, right?
And
No, he did
it
not
was
win all of
about
He did
Bharat.
not
He
win all
won
of
the
Bharat.
war of
destroying
Bahubali.
evil.
But that's like a very minuscule because first he left his wife alone and went for that deer. You know, uski wife ka moh ka poshan kiya usne. In the meanwhile, Ravan took his wife.
No, that
So
is
he won
Ram.
that war
right?
to bring his wife back. That's all. It's not like a major
No,
this thing.
in our Jain story, it says Lakshman called him. Actually, that Ravan sounded help, help, Ram,
Helpless.
and
Yeah.
then Lakshman ka awaaz sun ke he went to go to war with that father of the child that he killed. He went to help him, and then Sita was left alone, and then Ravan kidnapped her.
But there was
Killing
also there
Jatayu.
was it was all made up by Ravan, this help thing and all that. I
Right,
think.
right. But this is the story in our Jain story
That's
of
correct.
what happened.
Yes,
Not
yes.
this Haran ke piche gaya wo. That
Ha,
was not
but in that,
interesting.
I'm talking about the Hindu stories as it is, it's a wrong indicator.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it becomes it's very interesting because I remember when my kid was little and during Diwali we had gone to school, right? All the mothers do
Presentation and all,
introduce
yeah.
this to the stories were so different from each of these mothers. At one point I was like, zip your lips and move on.
It's like they would say these Indians don't know their thing.
No, that's why I just kept my mouth shut and I let them say what they wanted to say because otherwise
Yeah,
exactly
but today, like if I were to teach my kids, I would explain to them that, hey, does it make sense that is Nirvana higher purpose or just killing Ravan and coming home is higher purpose? So, okay, continue.
तथा प्रथमानुयोग में जिसकी मुख्यता हो उसी का पोषण करते हैं। जैसे किसी ने उपवास किया, उसका तो फल अल्प था, परंतु उसे अन्य धर्म परिणमित की विशेषता हुई, इसीलिए विशेष उच्च पद की प्राप्ति हुई। वह उसको उपवास ही का फल निरूपित करते हैं। इसी प्रकार अन्य जानना।
So, see, this is how people unfortunately get swayed. So, what here they are saying is, let's say a child did a upvas, right? So now for a child, it's hard, right? So they made that effort. You bring them up on the platter, ki bhai, oh, you did a very nice thing. And even some of these Shwetambar rituals probably started that way, that you sing bhajan and you do whatever around this upvas activity just to encourage them. But what happened is that instead of that child moving further up, he just stayed there. Because they stopped there. They didn't say, okay, now you go read books and you gain Tattva Gyan. Upvas is the only thing he was taught. So then from one Upvas, he went to 5 and 8 and Mas Khaman and whatever. And then all those things are like so much praised. So here they're saying that even if they're praised, let's say in Pratmanu Yoga, but understand that just for that prayojan, Upvas ka fal ka uska tarif kiya hai. But that doesn't mean that's the all. So
Is
take
that
it
what
as
it
that.
is saying?
Yes.
इसलिए विशेष उच्च पद की प्राप्ति हुई। वहां उसकी
स्टोरी में से उसने ऐसा उपवास किया इसलिए उसको उसके फल में उसको ऐसा जन्म मिल गया, whatever. But that may not be completely true. It's just they are trying to encourage that upvas ki vritti.
Ma'am, but now the whole world has stuck behind this
That's
only.
the problem, because they didn't understand the prayojan of Pratmanu Yoga.
Oh my God. This is enduring to your point, right? I mean, Priyaji, here also in the US, the for Das Lakshan and all of that, it's more about how many upvases you did.
Exactly.
That is all
Nobody
it
praises how much Tattva Gyan they got or how much, whatever.
They are
And that's
doing
why
upwards
this Kanji Swami group, they do encourage. Like Vipinji, Rupal, how my husband won that award or whatever.
Yeah.
They encourage those things that right now they're doing it on Shravakachar. So first they did MokshMarg Prakashak. There was a questionnaire. You read, they give you 3 months, you read the book and you answer those questions, 1008 questions, and then you write detailed answers of whatever. There's a competition. There's like 10-20,000 people who participate. And I think Shanti was in the top 200 or something who they gave these little silver things to. So that is one way to encourage Tattva Abhyas. So because then now it forces you to, read that book thoroughly, take the exam, all that.
So it's just meant more for encouragement rather than just stopping and doing nothing else besides that activity.
Right.
That is the purpose of writing, that they did upvas and then got maybe a good gati in next life.
Right.
And
So
the
that doesn't
prayojan
mean
was
you
to
get
focus
stuck
on
with
the
that.
good gati.
Yeah, so now let's only do the upvas and we'll get the good. No, that's not the way it is. You also cannot have the kashaya. You cannot be backbiting your mother-in-law or whoever is and not doing all those
one
things.
more thing, like जैसे यहाँ पे मोस्टली होता है कि रात में नहीं खाते, कि अन्न का त्याग है, but they have so many other stuffs to eat in the night. कि मूंगफली खा सकते हैं, ड्राई
I
फ्रूट्स.
didn't know that. ये दिगंबर परंपरा में है.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
श्वेतांबर में नहीं होता है. श्वेतांबर में ज्यादातर लोग नहीं खाते means नहीं खाते. But in Digambar Parampara, I was shocked when I asked Bharelji's wife that, because back then I was very revolting type person. So I would ask her that this is not fair. वो बोलती थी हमारे यहाँ तो बचपन जन्म से उनको रात को नहीं खिलाते. Like, are you crazy? You're torturing these poor little babies who cannot even speak, You don't feed the baby milk after dark. And then what about little kids? They're running around. They didn't eat dinner on time and now it's dark. And what do? You leave them hungry? Then she said, no. Then we give them milk and nuts and fruits and certain things they allow. So वो उसके लिए ठीक है. That doesn't mean adults should do that.
I see.
Adults can control their hungers. So, but children, because they may not eat on time and they may not have as good a control, or if somebody is not well for whatever reason, they cannot be left hungry for so many hours, then you make an exception. And when you make that was the other thing I learned is that, okay, so I was opposed to why fruits. Hum to 14 humko we leave the fruits and vegetables. So why would you give them fruits? The point is like better to give nuts than fruits, but fruits compared to roti sabji, because they don't want you to start the kitchen and open the fire and all that after dark. Because there is usme more jeevon ki hinsa. Isliye. So ideally we could follow. Suppose you're the type of person who gets hungry, right? If you eat at 5 and now you're sleeping at 10, in those 5 hours you're going to get hungry. Then you say, okay, I'll have my dinner at 5, but then 8 o'clock I'll have a muthi of nuts or something.
So Prabhaji, now going back to this example of upvas, what are they trying to say in that paragraph?
So what they're saying is in this paragraph, they're saying, suppose your Pratmanuyog story says कि उसने उपवास किया, उससे धर्म परिणति की विशेषता हुई. So उपवास से वो कई चीजें और बताएंगे, उसको ये हुआ, उसको उच्च पद मिला, means because he got a better bhav or better position. वहां उसको उपवास ही का फल, what they're saying is, in that particular moment, in Pratmanuyog, they are trying to show you उपवास का फल निरूपित करते हैं. इस प्रकार अन्य जानना. So whenever they're focusing on one thing, उसको थोड़ा बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलेंगे. That's all.
Oh.
But
And
that
why
doesn't
they do
mean you
bada
stop
chada ke?
there and only upvas is Charnanuyog. No, that's not the case.
But why are they doing bada chada ke then?
Because how would you get the importance of it? See, अभी तुमको किसी बच्चे को, like for example, my son, okay, when he was little, I used to do upvas, right? So my son in his high school, he felt like he should also do upvas. Now, why? He didn't. He doesn't know what's pap, punya, what is what. But he saw his mom doing, so he thought it was a good thing to do in the Paryushan. So he did it. Now, if he did it, what am I supposed to tell him? Oh, you're not even Sabjik Drashti yet, and what are you doing Upvas? No need. No, I'll encourage him. That's great, beta. You were able to control your hunger for so long. And then you pamper them a little, next day you give them the kind of foods they like to eat so that they're encouraged to do it.
But this is why it gets so complicated then, right?
It
Why
is
people sort of
complicated,
go
but
off
there has
the
to be a
wrong
fine
path.
line. But then to the same child, you explain why upvas. Only to be non-dependent, to reduce kashai. Kashai makes you dependent. Ena vagar chaltu nathi, ena vagar chaltu nathi. We want to get away from that. I used to tease my mother-in-law because she was raised from Rajasthan. In Rajasthan में हम चावल भी नहीं इतना खाते. तो roti is the primary food, right? सब्जी भी इतनी सी खाते थे पुराने जमाने के लोग. Here we learned, okay, now eat a lot of vegetable, a lot of salad, this, that. So she would tell me, मुझे तो रोटी के बिना नहीं चलता है. And which was a tough thing for me, going to work and handling kids and आके फिर रोटियां बनाओ रोज. If she wasn't there, I could do without making roti every day type of thing. So I would tease her that, roti ke bina nahi chalta, chai ke bina bhi nahi chalta. That is like vyasan. You have roti ka vyasan. So that's what it is. What is vyasan? Uske bina nahi chalta. Whether it is chai, whether it is liquor, whether it is smoking, doesn't matter. It's a vyasan, it's a vyasan. So, chalo, keep going.
I just find that Prathamanu Yoga can become very dangerous.
That is true. Yes.
What is Dharma Pariniti, Prabhaji?
Parinati means behavior. That parinati, paryay, parinati, all these things are they're synonyms. So, dharma pravrutti. So, because they did upvas, so sometimes, what happens is the children do upvas. So now they're hungry. So they're like little weak that day. So they're not going to go out to play. So if you give them a nice dharmic storybook to read, they will read it.
That is actually a very good idea.
Yeah.
Because you want to do upvas with some getting close to your own Atma. Then
Right.
doing that is a good way to do it.
Right.
So, it's interesting, like in Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish people, they do upvas from sunrise to sunset. They're at the temple. And so I was just talking to them. I said, so why do you do the upvas or whatever, right? The fasting. And they said, because you're supposed to spend more time studying.
See?
And being in prayer. And I thought, it's interesting.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. And I was just very impressed that, because when they would ask me and ask others around, right? Because we had a lot of in R&D and whatever, there were a ton of Hindus and whatever, and they would have their upvases, but they'd be eating a lot of food, right?
Yeah.
They'd eat the aloo and the fruits and this and that and whatever. And so there was always this whole discussion that would happen. Well, if it's a religious day, then why are you eating and not in temple and not studying or not, praying or something?
And
so
that's good that they have retained the correct this
yeah,
thing.
so that's what they do.
Yeah, the Jewish people actually believe that their religion is a true religion and that Christianity is just a sham.
Well, they're all three
possible.
stems from the same, right?
Yeah.
It's just like we're saying, right? Kanji Swami now is trying to get the purest form, then Digambar, then Shwetambar, so it's kind of like, yeah. So those who kept it pure, maybe that is that Jewish people, and then the Christianity became all whatever.
They all stem from the same, right? They all stem from the same.
They all
religion.
stem.
That's
Even
why they
Muslims
say
stem
that
from the same.
they say Judaism is the original religion from which the other two came.
Other two originated.
Is it Islam and Christianity came out of Judaism?
Yeah, that's what Jews believe.
The three of them are the same.
Possible.
And it
I've
appears
heard
that the
that.
religion is much older than Christianity and Islam to me. If you read,
Maybe that's why the
you
kind of
will
like,
figure it out.
Well, that's why all the issues, right, with Jerusalem and everything.
Yeah.
So I
That is
honestly don't
purely
know
political, my dear Rupal.
if
That
they
is
believe in
now,
one
but
God.
it started with, is it a holy site for the Jewish, the Catholic, or the Muslim?
Right, but the
When you
war
go
is
there, it's very
purely
interesting when you visit
But
there.
Israel is holy for all three?
So
not Israel, Jerusalem.
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 Oh, what is it for Muslims? I don't know what's there for Muslims.
So Jerusalem is more about Judaism and Christianity. They have a whole thing about whether, so when you go, you know, it's not unlike when you're in Europe and you go to many places and there used to be a Christian temple and then it's converted into a Muslim mosque and then it gets converted back, right? So in Jerusalem, it's more Judaism and Catholicism.
And the thing that has happened, Prabhaji, is that whole region used to be Islam. The part, and after World War II, I think it was owned by England. So
The
England
British.
said, let's give Jews a place to be because Germany persecuted them. And they put them right there in the hot pot in the Arab world. And that was Arab land that they gave away to the Jews because England
Jerusalem
said,
is
we
an
own
Arab
it.
land?
Yeah, it was Arab
Yes,
land.
it was an
And
Arab land.
it was given away to the Jews because England owned it. And that was where all these other problems came. Now you've put a whole new religion in the midst of a hot pot of another religion. England is not even the true owner of that land. And then you have all these things happening saying it's my land, it's my land.
See, that is why I
Then
say
you had the US
all
backing them up.
paramparas,
Yeah,
take
it's all
them as
this.
stories and only focus on the truth.
Yes.
And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised that the original roots of whatever it is, the Judaism, Islam, whatever is also Adhyatma. Then
Yeah,
it just goes,
it is, Prabhaji, it is the same thing, you know. So they are saying this land used to be where Christians lived, so it should go back to Christians and Jews. But it's like saying Ayodhya is Hindus का,
just
तो
going to go there.
Islam से लेके हिंदू को दे दो, तो हम भी बोल सकते हैं जैन का था, अभी जैन को दे दो.
I know, that's what I'm
All
saying. This thing is
madness.
not worth. I mean,
Yeah.
people make such a big fuss out of this. They got this Ayodhya back.
But
What is
that's
back? It's like,
that was such
you
a
know, I mean, then
pity.
somebody posts this thing on WhatsApp that so many Jain Murtis came out of that dharti when they dig it out.
True.
So there was an era when there was Jainism
It was a
more
Jain
prevalent.
temple. Got it.
So, you know, it's okay. Those things are no big deal. But this is what I'm saying. This is more of a Rashtravadi. So like Priya was saying, we also did Diya. Okay, fine. You did Diya because you don't want to be opposed to the whole nation. So in that sense, it's okay. But don't now start believing that, oh, it's a great thing that they got this temple back. No, no big deal. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's just a power play, right?
yeah. So, okay. So even when Jains say Tirupati was Jain Mandir, fine, but maybe they were not taking care of it. Or in that case, maybe not. Shankaracharya, from what you said, Himal, that he actually did forcefully take it. But if it was not forcefully taken and it just, you know, there's so many Jain temples that are not doing well because nobody's taking care of them. So if some Hindu temple, somebody makes a Hindu temple there, there's nothing wrong with it.
But even in Mumbai, all these Jain temples, even through Kanji Swami, right? They had the one in Ghatkopar and then the Parla one opened and all that. Such politics with it. Oh my goodness. It's crazy. So now the Ghatkopar temple isn't as important and the Parla temple is more important. It's very interesting.
It's okay.
That is all the
where
Man
you
Kashai.
say Moha ki Mahima and stop there.
Kashai.
We don't want our minds going all over the place. So
anyway,
okay. Let's go. तथा जिस प्रकार किसी ने
शीलादिक की प्रतिज्ञा दृढ़ रखी, वह नमस्कार मंत्र का स्मरण किया, वह अन्य धर्म साधन किया, उसके कष्ट दूर हुए, अतिशय प्रकट हुए, वहां उन्हीं का वैसा फल नहीं हुआ है, परंतु अन्य किसी कर्म के उदय से वैसे कार्य हुए हैं, तथापि उनको उन शीलादिक का ही फल निरूपित करते हैं। उसी प्रकार कोई पाप कार्य किया, उसको उसी का तो वैसा फल नहीं हुआ है, परंतु अन्य धर्म के उदय से नीच गति को
कर्म के उदय से
अन्य गति के कर्म के उदय से नीच गति प्राप्त हुआ अथवा कष्टाधिक हुए, उसे उसी पाप कार्य का फल निरूपित करते हैं इत्यादि इस प्रकार जानना।
So remember, you have heard the Seth ki story, the one this queen was trying to lure him and he didn't fall for it, and then he was given the Phansi of Saja, and then that Phansi became throne. That was the story. Okay, so now today, if you think that, oh, just because you turned away lust, you would be saved. No, that's not always going to happen to you. It also depends on your past karmas. But in that story, they're going to teach you to stay with virtues, to brahmacharya, whatever the case may be. So that's how you janna.
Interpret it. So,
Yeah.
So even if they say that there will be a fall, it may not necessarily be true. It is just to entice us to do good things. Is that what you're
Exactly.
saying?
That's only to entice us. with उसकी महिमा बताई कि देखो उसने शील व्रत का पालन किया तो उसको फांसी भी नहीं हो पाई, उसका सिंहासन बन गया. But that doesn't mean today you do that and that's going to happen to you. Because now, after knowing all the other knowledge, we know कि that was just one limit. His karmas पाप का नहीं था, उसका पुण्य का भी उदय चला होगा, बहुत कुछ हुआ तब जाके वो हुआ. But you don't talk about those other facts, because at the time you're trying to encourage that, not cheating.
That behavior.
Yeah.
Or virtue.
So maybe the first thing people need to learn is these Anuyog chapter. And then they need to be told the Pratham Anuyog stories. Like,
I
tell
would
them
say,
about
no,
this.
let's say हम बच्चों को सिखा रहे हैं. उनको तो वैसे ही पढ़ाओ. Because you want them to get importance of Shil Vrat and not cheating and not lying and all those things. But as you get older, you should understand. See, ये जो तत्व ज्ञान है, ये back of the mind समझने के लिए है. कि even you, when you read the story, what you should get out of it is कि yes, मुझे शील व्रत रखना है, मुझे स्पाउस को चीट नहीं करना है. Even though you know कि उसका जो result बताया, that is not, doesn't always have to happen. It also additionally depends on his punya karmas.
When we had started this course and you had told us this, Prabhaji, when we were doing Tattva Gyan 1 or 2 or something, I remember you saying, oh, so these stories you just have to sort of take with a pinch of salt in terms of the facts, because the facts can sort of be, I was like, what? What is that all about? Now that we're reading this, it's like, that is coming back. And now that we've done 2 years of it, it makes so much more sense.
See, that's why I said we are building on it. And even in the beginning, I think I've told all this that I'm repeating now.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's continue. We should at least finish one yoga today.
यहाँ कोई
Somebody else wants to read a little faster, please? Or I'll read if you want. Let me speak a little faster. So ऐसा झूठा फल दिखलाना तो योग्य नहीं है. ऐसे कथन को प्रमाण कैसे करें? So now they're saying, okay, you're going to say that this is the फल and that's actually not accurate. So why would you do this? So the answer is, जो अज्ञानी जीव बहुत फल दिखाए बिना धर्म में न लगे, वह पाप से डरें, उनका भला करने के अर्थ ऐसा वर्णन करते हैं. You understand? So to a child, you don't want to say, okay, this won't always happen. Because you actually want them to do those things. झूठा तो तब हो जब धर्म के फल को पाप का फल बताएं, पाप के फल को धर्म का फल बतलाएं, परंतु ऐसा तो है नहीं. जैसे 10 पुरुष मिलकर कोई कार्य करें, वहां उपचार से एक पुरुष का भी किया कहा जाए तो दोष नहीं है. अथवा जिसके पितादिक ने कोई कार्य किया हो, उसे एक जाति अपेक्षा उपचार से पुत्रादिक का किया कहा जाए तो दोष नहीं है. उसी प्रकार बहुत शुभ व अशुभ कार्यों का एक फल हुआ, उसे उपचार से एक शुभ व एक अशुभ कार्य का फल कहा जाए तो दोष नहीं है. अथवा अन्य शुभ व अशुभ कार्य का फल जो हुआ, उसे एक जाति अपेक्षा उपचार से किसी अन्य ही शुभ व अशुभ फल का कहें तो दोष नहीं. So, go back to that story, Seth story. So many punya का फल उसको मिला, पर you are only focusing on that one activity and one फल. So उपदेश में कई व्यवहार वर्णन है, कई निश्चय वर्णन है. यहाँ उपचार रूप व्यवहार वर्णन किया है. इस प्रकार इसे प्रमाण करते हैं. इसको तारतम्य नहीं मान लेना. तारतम्य का तो कर्णानुयोग में निरूपण किया है, सो जानना. तारतम्य मीन्स इंटेंसिटी. So don't think that iska fal yehi hoga. Karnanuyog can decipher and tell you that if it was so much, then so much will be the fal and all that. Okay. So in the Pratmanuyog mota bata denge ki ye karne se ye hua. Whereas Karnanuyog will say, no, these are the 4 karmas that were in effect, and this karma ke uday se ye hua tha, uski आयु कर्म भी अभी उदय में नहीं थी, खत्म नहीं हुई थी, इसलिए उसको मरना नहीं था, तो वो सिंहासन बन गया, फांसी नहीं लगा पाए. So many things can be, part of the thing. So, तथा प्रथमानुयोग में उपचार रूप किसी धर्म का अंग होने पर संपूर्ण धर्म हुआ कहते हैं. So like somebody will say, okay, सम्यक दर्शन हो गया, पूरा धर्म हो गया. That's not true. He still has to go चारित्र. But just to encourage, they can say that एक चीज के लिए पूरा धर्म. जैसे जिन जीवों की शंकादिक नहीं हुए उनको सम्यक्त हुआ कहते हैं, परंतु किसी एक कार्य में शंकाकांक्षा न करने से ही तो सम्यक्त्व नहीं होता. सम्यक्त्व तो तत्व श्रद्धान होने पर होता है, परंतु निश्चय सम्यक्त्व तो व्यवहार सम्यक्त्व में उपचार किया और व्यवहार सम्यक्त्व के किसी एक अंग में संपूर्ण व्यवहार सम्यक्त्व का उपचार किया. इस प्रकार उपचार द्वारा सम्यक्त्व हुआ कहते हैं.
I have a question. What does it mean?
Basically, what they're saying is that, so let's say you really cannot tell if this person had the anubhav, right? But you see that usko koi shanka nahi hai dharm ki usme, right? So kya hota hai when we study Krambad, when we study all these other tattva, we are supposed to be fearless. कि जो होना है सो होगा, right? किसी ने मुझे बुरा भला कह दिया, मुझे बुरा लगा, वो भी होने योग्य हुआ, मैं तो सिर्फ उसको जान रहा हूं, राइट? अब वो अगर वो निशंक है तो उसको देख के उपचार से यू कैन से दैट ही इज शोइंग सम्यक्त्व का गुण. दैट्स ऑल. उपचार से कहना मीन्स इन रियलिटी सम्यक्त्व हुआ ऐसा नहीं है.
So what are they saying? So
I know exactly. I'm not getting
story.
So what they're saying is कि प्रथमानुयोग में इस तरह के कथन आएंगे कि अरे वो तो इतना निशंक था आपने, like that चोर की story, right? He heard somebody say नमोकार मंत्र, oh why are you doing this? तो मुझे उसकी ये वाली विद्या हो जाएगी. The guy didn't know anything else anyway. He was going to die because somebody was following him. So he says, okay, now ekdam shraddhan se he started saying the Naukar mantra, and he actually got lifted or whatever happened. Wahan kya ho raha hai? They are just trying to tell you that it is important to have the Drad Shraddhan. So they are focusing on that point. Now, अब वो चीके से उस टाइम तो वो नहीं गिरा. But if you don't understand that they are only trying to focus on that Shraddha part, and you think that that is supposed to happen to you, then that is wrong. But if you say Namokar mantra when you're in trouble is okay. Is the
so
right
it's not the full truth.
No, it's not.
Yes, it's not. You are only
problem
focusing on something.
But the
And
problem
that's why you should learn this, iska swaroop, the style of talking in Pratmanuyog. That's why we are learning this.
मैम इसका मतलब ये है कि जो यूनिवर्सल ट्रूथ है उसको समझाने के लिए जो स्टोरीज में थोड़ा बहुत उठा के बताना या कम करके बताना, इट इज ओनली टू मेक दैट कॉन्सेप्ट अंडरस्टैंड, बट इट डजंट मीन कि वो स्टोरी ही ऐसी है.
पूर्ण सत्य नहीं मान लेना उसको.
Yeah, but the problem,
but only to understand the universal truth.
But the point is, so what happens? Let's say you tell this Anjan Chor story to your kids. This Anjan Chor, just totally believed in this guy who was doing this mantra and did the mantra. So what you're trying to focus on or teach the Shrota is that it is very important to have that non-budging Shraddha in that.
but
Like,
Prabhaji,
I believe in Krambad, but now sometimes I believe and sometimes I don't. No, I want to tell you, it's always you should believe. Shraddha hamesha karna.
Prabhaji, the problem becomes who's the person who's basically teaching this or telling the story, right? They can essentially focus on something else also on the story, right?
Which
That
is the
becomes the
problem.
problem.
Yeah, and that's what happens a lot of times is that, let's say you tell the kids, that's what is happening with Krishna's story. What do you think?
Yeah.
We're supposed to learn his teachings. Ki, so Atma Marta nahi hai, this, that. And what are people focusing on? He ate makhan. Hare
Yeah.
who cares what is eating makhan any
But
good?
that is their Pratmanu Yog.
That's their Pratmanu Yog, but they're taking.
But that is what they're
point of-
believing. No, that's the thing of
So
it.
that's why we are
Depends on what
studying that even
aspect
if
of
you
the
hear the
story.
Anjan story, then only focus on the Shraddha part, not on the fact that he got saved or whatever happened to him. Because
लेकिन
what
बहुत
happened
सारे
to him can have multiple factors.
इवन इन सो मेनी प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मतलब टीचिंग्स ऑफ कृष्णा उसमें भी वो बताते हैं ऐसे कि जो कर्म करा है यू विल गेट द रिजल्ट्स आपको
Right.
जो
So those are the things you're supposed to focus on. You're not supposed to focus on he
people
stole
are
Makhan.
taking
What difference does it make whether he stole Makhan or not? What difference does it make in your life? That's not what you're going to learn or teach your kids. But that's the problem, is that because they don't have the understanding of how it is told, what is the purpose of Pratmanu Yoga, they focus on the wrong things.
Till they start focusing on the right things.
Well, if they do, that's great. Yes.
I know people that have now focused on the right things. That's why I'm saying
That's
that.
good. That's good. And that's okay. That happens too, that as a child, you learn stories without the focus and all those things. And then as you get older, you're supposed to evolve and focus on the right things. So that's the whole point. The point is that it's not wrong to do just the charitra, the vrat upvas, and praise the people who did upvas. There's nothing wrong with it. What is wrong is to be stuck with only that. Think that is the only religion. That is what is wrong.
We cannot even be judging another person.
No,
When we
no,
are
no,
doing
no.
prashansa, we don't judge.
That is for us.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, for us too, it's okay to teach our children to give up things, to not be dependent on things. It's okay if they're of the age where they can do upvas, to encourage them. There is nothing wrong with that. But to tell them that that's the only religion, no, we don't want to do that. Okay.
Yeah, and it would be very hard to tell my daughter, okay, this is so that you can just be close to your Atma, and she'll be like, what? Instead, we do this intermediate thing.
Intermediate, you tell a story and all of a sudden, yes,
food.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole. So that's why the point is that this is all for you, not to judge other people, but for you to internalize the whole truth. And then accordingly, you will know, what is appropriate where to say. So if it's an adult and more knowledgeable, you will tell them the whole thing that, hey, the story says this happened. That doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody. Whereas to a child, you may not say that. तो तथा किसी जैन शास्त्र का अंग जानने पर सम्यक ज्ञान हुआ कहते हैं. सो संशय आदि रहित तत्व ज्ञान होने पर सम्यक ज्ञान होता है, परंतु यहाँ पूर्ववत उपचार से सम्यक ज्ञान कहते हैं. So somebody got, Samyak Darshan, like Kanji Swami, got very impressed by Samay Sar and got Samyak Darshan, right? So now Gyan became Samyak Gyan. Now, to say that you only get Samyak Gyan because of Samay Sar is not accurate.
Right.
But to encourage to read Samay Sar, it's okay to say that. तथा कोई भला आचरण होने पर सम्यक चारित्र हुआ कहते हैं. वहां जिसने जैन धर्म अंगीकार किया हो, वह कोई छोटी मोटी प्रतिज्ञा ग्रहण की हो, उसे श्रावक कहते हैं. सो श्रावक को पंचम गुण स्थानवर्ती होने पर होता है, परंतु पूर्ववत उपचार से इसे श्रावक कहा जाता है. उत्तर पुराण में श्रेणिक को श्रावकोत्तम कहा है. सो वह तो असंयत था, परंतु जैन था इसलिए कहा है. इसी प्रकार अन्यथा जानना.
What is Purvavat? What is Purvavat?
So Shrenik Raja was Shaik Samyatkvi. Now, but they gave him the title of Shravak Uttam. Uttam in Shravak, which technically is not true, because Uttam in Shravak would mean he's Samyak Drashti and Pancham Gun Sthani. He should be following also व्रत वगैरह, वो
yeah.
उनके नहीं थे, फिर भी उनको श्रावकोत्तम का बोला। तथा जो सम्यक्त्व रहित मुनिलिंग धारण करे, वह द्रव्य से भी कोई अतिचार लगाता हो, उसे मुनि कहते हैं। So again, same thing here. So somebody took Diksha, they are not Samyakti. Still you call them Muni in the stories. So Muni तो अष्टादि गुण स्थानवर्ती होने पर होता है, परंतु पूर्ववत उपचार से उसे मुनि कहा है।
What is Purvavat? Purvavat?
Like the previous paragraphs, how they explained what is upchar, that is what they're saying. Previously said.
That's what Purvavat means?
Yes. समवसरण सभा में मुनियों की संख्या कही, वहां सर्व ही शुद्ध भावलिंगी मुनि नहीं थे, परंतु मुनिलिंग धारण करने से कि सभी को मुनि कहा। इसी प्रकार अन्यत्र जान।
So these are munis that are not samyaktvis, but they are called munis.
Right.
Because they have adopted muni dharma.
Charitra, right. Part of it, yes.
Yeah. So, what are they trying to say over here?
What they're trying to say is that Pratmanu Yog may not, when they're telling the story, they may say koi muni ja raha tha. Now they may not be accurate ki wo bhavlingi tha ki nahi. But they will still call him a muni.
So even in those days, even in the olden days, people used to take Diksha without becoming Samyak Drishti.
Yeah, I'm sure that's always possible. Because in one of the chapter, it is going to say that, what is it going to say? That if you, even in Samavsaran, there is a place where munis sit. So Dravyamlingi Muni is allowed to sit there, even though they are not Bhavlingi.
So they are afforded that much respect.
Yes.
So then us bowing down to Dravyalingi Muni should not be adharma.
That
It's always a tricky question, because yes, it is the dharma, because knowingly you're doing it. But if you don't know and you just see a sadhu coming, then yes, you're supposed to bow down.
But that is very confusing now, huh?
It is. How do you know whether it's true or not?
It is difficult. And if you don't know and you feel like doing it, that's fine.
So we should not get stuck on each and every
act
there is no
need to get
of
stuck on those things like, oh, this is dharma. No, because see, the more you study, the more you internalize it, and you can take it slow. Suddenly you heard this, oh, now I'm going to stop doing Namastutu and all the munis. No need to force yourself. First, you learn enough, make it your own, then your own soul will tell you what is right and wrong. At that point, if you don't feel like doing Namastutu, this muni coming, that's fine. Then you listen to yourself. But first you gain the knowledge and the right Shraddha.
Ma'am, as we are, हम खुद सम्यक दृष्टि नहीं है, तो we are not in a position to judge anyone actually.
Right.
So it is better
and your level, even though Samyak Darshan is like a yes or no type situation, but before you reach that point, your level of Shraddha, Gyan, everything is slowly increasing too. So you are improving your own intuition.
Actually, I had this thing जब हम कुदेव कुगुरु के बारे में पढ़ रहे थे, इतने पुराने, इतने सालों से जो प्रथा चल रही है, अब पढ़ने के बाद में हमें समझ में तो आ रहा है, but all of sudden we can't have this change in us.
You can't just suddenly say, yesterday you were bowing down and today I'm not going to bow down. No, it's going to take time for you to get that drad shraddhan, that no, now it doesn't make sense to me. So there's two ways to do it. One is on purpose, oh, because you read this and you stop doing that tomorrow. Second is, well, if you're compelled because of your previous rag, whatever, you do it, and as your Shraddhan gets stronger and stronger, it will automatically get chhut jayega.
But if in Pratmanu Yoga they are being called Muni, then why should we not bow is the question.
Well, so far they haven't said go bow to them. They're just saying if there's a word Muni, they can still call Muni somebody who is not Samyak Drashti. And as long as they're in the vesh of a Muni, they will call them that Muni was coming, like that. तथा प्रथमानु योग में कोई धर्म बुद्धि से अनुचित कार्य करे, उसकी भी प्रशंसा करते. जैसे विष्णु कुमार ने मुनियों का उपसर्ग दूर किया, सो धर्म अनुराग से किया, परंतु मुनि पद छोड़कर ये कार्य करना योग्य नहीं था, क्योंकि ऐसा कार्य तो we have done this in detail when we studied the story, so we know what we are talking about here. I'm not going to read it, okay? तथा जिस प्रकार ग्वाले ने मुनि को अग्नि से तपाया, सो करुणा से यह कार्य किया, परंतु आए हुए उपसर्ग को तो दूर करे. सहज अवस्था में जो शीतादिक का परिचय होता है, उसे दूर करने पर रति मानने का कारण होता है, और उन्हें रति करना नहीं है जब उल्टा उपसर्ग होता है. इसी से विवेकी उनके शीतादिक का उपचार नहीं करते. वाला अविवेकी था, करुणा से यह कार्य किया, इसलिए उसकी प्रशंसा की है, परंतु इस छल से औरों को धर्म पद्धति में जो विरुद्ध हो वह कार्य करना योग्य नहीं है. So if there is a story that the Gwala tried to make the Muni comfortable, but they're just praising him because he was compassionate. But that is not the ultimate. The ultimate is you should know what Muni Pad means. Muni के लिए वो परिचय है जिसकी वो जय कर सकते हैं, उनको आपको हेल्प करने की जरूरत नहीं है. तथा जैसे वज्र कारण राजा ने सिंहोदर राजा को नमन नहीं किया, मुनि मुद्रिका में प्रतिमा रखी, सो बड़े बड़े सम्यक दृष्टि राजादिक को नमन करते हैं, उसमें दोष नहीं है. तथा मुद्रिका में प्रतिमा रखने में अविनय होती है, यथावत विधि से ऐसी प्रतिमा नहीं होती, इसलिए इस कार्य में दोष है, परंतु उसे ऐसा ज्ञान नहीं था. उसे तो धर्मानुरोग राग से मैं और को नमन नहीं करूंगा ऐसी बुद्धि हुई, इसलिए उसकी प्रशंसा करते हैं, परंतु इस छल से औरों को ऐसा कार्य करना योग्य नहीं. So what they're saying is, story में they may praise this person because he didn't want to, there was this story about, कुछ और भगवान का रखा था, बोला उसको प्रणाम करो, तो उसने अपने अंगूठी में वीतराग भगवान को रखा था कि he is focusing on that कि मैं उनको प्रणाम कर रहा हूँ, but it is chal because he is showing something different to the other person. But कि उन्होंने अपनी protection के लिए he did it when he had to do, but that doesn't mean it becomes the correct thing to do all the time.
Oh God, this is
Putting
very
Bhagwan in a
complicated.
anguthi is not the right thing to do.
But
Prabhaji,
he is praised
Prathamanu
because of
Yoga
his
too
Dharmanu Yoga, Dharam
Because
Rag.
he was put in a position where they said, now do pranam to whatever, maybe Jesus or Allah or whatever, which he didn't want to. So that was his trick, that he put his Bhagwan's thing in the anguthi. So he would be looking, so his abhipraya was to do pranam to his Bhagwan.
Oh, I see.
But then that doesn't mean they're recommending you to wear Bhagwan's picture in the anguthi.
And they are saying don't do chal.
Yes. And there are these controversies. If people put mehndi mein Bhagwan ka this thing, now you're going to use that same hand to do other things too. So they don't recommend that.
So, ma'am, even they get tattooed of Om and all, even that should not be done, I guess.
Yeah, technically no. तथा कितने ही पुरुषों ने पुत्रादिक की प्राप्ति के अर्थ अथवा रोग कष्टादिक दूर करने के अर्थ चैत्यालय पूजनादिक कार्य किए, स्तोत्रादिक किए, नमस्कार मंत्र स्मरण किया, परंतु ऐसा करने से निकांक्षता गुण का अभाव होता है. So you see, you're not firm on your religion. You did all this नौकार स्तोत्र to get what? To get a son. निदान बन नामक अर्थ ध्यान होता है. पाप ही का प्रयोजन अंतरंग में है, इसलिए पाप ही का बंध होता है। परंतु मोहित होकर भी बहुत पाप बंध का कारण कुदेव आदि का तो पूजनादिक नहीं किया, इतना उसका गुण ग्रहण करके उसकी प्रशंसा करते हैं। इस छल से औरों को लौकिक कार्यों के अर्थ धर्म साधन करना युक्त नहीं है, इस प्रकार अन्यत्र जानना। So what they're saying in the story you may read that नमस्कार मंत्र किया तो उसको उसका मैना सुंदरी की स्टोरी है ना कि नमस्कार मंत्र किया तो her husband got better, उसका रोग ठीक हो गया। But that doesn't mean they are saying that you should be encouraged to, yes, you should be encouraged to do Naukar mantra, but not encouraged to do Naukar mantra to get better, to get well all.
But that doesn't come through in that
No, it does
story.
not.
Fortunately, that is true. And that's the way we have to be very careful. And that's why we learned this. Ki how Pratmanu Yoga is said and how you're supposed to take it.
So what do you take in that Maina Sundari story? What is there
So
to take?
Maina Sundari story, all you take is first you have firm belief in your religion. जब करने होने योग्य होगा, मेरे कर्म में अच्छा पति लिखा है तो मेरा जैसा भी पति है वो अच्छा हो जाएगा। नंबर 2 कि नवकार मंत्र की आराधना करने में कोई दोष नहीं है, पर आराधना से मेरा पति ठीक हो जाएगा वो मानने में दोष है। That happened to be the case at that time. It was a coincidence that she did this aradhana and her husband became better. So we are okay. So इसी प्रकार प्रथमानु योग में अन्य कथन भी हो, उन्हें यथासंभव जानकर भ्रम रूप नहीं होना. So we'll end at this today, and then tomorrow we'll do Karnanu Yoga.
A Friday.
Yeah, sorry, Friday. Yeah, this is also a pretty big chapter.
Yeah, it is 30 pages.
304. So we still have wow, more than 25 pages.
Oh yeah.
Pages. Still 30 more pages.
I have to leave. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we are ending anyway.
Okay.
सहजानंदी शुद्ध स्वरूपी अविनाशी हूँ आत्मस्वरूप. सहजानंदी शुद्ध स्वरूपी अविनाशी हूँ आत्मस्वरूप. सहजानंदी शुद्ध स्वरूपी अविनाशी हूँ आत्मस्वरूप. निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है, इसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है, वंदना शत बार है. जय जिनेंद्र.
Jai Jinendra.
Thank you.
Good luck, Minnie ji, for tomorrow. Bye.